What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Zone with the opening pair. Tonight, we're going to be doing a review of Ireland's series against England from the Hampshire Rose Bowl. But tonight, I'm going to be joined by my usual partner in crime, Mr. Keith Kilduff. Keith, how are you?
Not too bad, sir. Not too bad. Good to be back after a couple of weeks off, and it is nice to be done with cricket.
Yes. I also must introduce myself. I'm the host for the evening, Gavin, but hopefully you know me by now. So it's good to be back, as you say, and actually talking a little bit of cricket for a change. I suppose we're kind of away from live sports for so long lately, and it's just great to have it.
Definitely, yeah. No, it was nice to kind of get a bit of live cricket back in, in amongst everything else. Obviously, sports slowly coming back. This is no different, and what a series it actually was. Something that on paper could have gone either way. It could have been a 3-0 to England. Obviously, it's 2-1 England. We're going to kind of go through each game. But no, overall top line kind of views was a really exciting series. And I think there's a lot to delve into in this show.
Definitely, most definitely. I suppose we should jump right into it then. As you say, it's a 3-match series from the Hampshire Rose Bowl and the biosecure bubble, as they're calling it. So I think from facts and figures, it didn't really go according to plan, I suppose.
The first two was definitely, it was extreme ring rust is possibly the words to kind of use to describe it. But I think like within that, there's still a lot to kind of look at in terms of a positive approach, like being 28 for 5 in that first game and making 170 odd to kind of get a bit of a score and then giving it a right rattle to kind of defend it.
Yeah.
And then obviously then the second test or the second ODI kind of something similar and then scraping another score. Curtis Camphor really came to the fore in those first two games, supported by kind of like Andy McBride and that. And, I think those first two games really kind of showed kind of how Ireland can squeeze and get as much out of what they can. And then obviously the third one, I think we'll savor and
we'll leave that. Yeah, we'll leave that to last. Yeah, as I said, I'm just looking at some of my notes here at the facts and figures. It doesn't make pretty reading. Like all out 172 off 44.4. As you said, it was 28 for 5 at one point. So
something similar to that.
Yeah,
it didn't look great.
Yeah, the thing that I think you can take from that first game, just kind of zoning in on it, is, as you said, the spirit and the fight that they showed. A huge collapse, but Andy McBride and our new superstar Curtis Camphor came together, and I think what a find he is.
Yeah, but like you have to realize he's one of the Camphors from Strokestown, so like he'd have relations that kind of side of the country. But no, listen, I don't think many people might have known him. I know he was on a Wolves tour, I think, in the lead up to this series. But I don't think anyone would have looked at the squad and say, yeah, he's going to start maybe the first game. And definitely don't think anyone possibly thought that he was going to make the impact that he did either. So he was definitely a great find. And really kind of the rock, I thought, of the Irish performance from a batting point of view for those first two games.
Absolutely. I think, as you said, no one really kind of knew where he basically kind of appeared out of nowhere, I suppose. He was a South African under-19 international.
Yeah, the funny thing was, I don't know if you copped this on comms, but they were saying that the under-19 World Cup that he was at when he played for South Africa, he actually got Tom Banton out.
Right.
And then he repeated that then twice.
Yes.
In this series, which is, it's nice to get these kind of little callbacks. But no, tidy with the bat, all things considered, and really, really tidy with the ball at times, kind of low 80s, but still gave Balbirnie another option in that kind of Kevin O'Brien kind of mold that he would have had years ago, is kind of how I saw him as.
Yeah, like a batting all around. I thought actually going back to the comms ever so slightly, they were a little bit at times, but I think one of the funnier comments I noticed was when Camphor first came on to bowl, they had him down as a medium pacer, and his first ball was 85 miles an hour, which was pretty okay, I think.
Yeah, well, sure. If that's Broad or Anderson, that's a fast ball, no doubt.
that's it. But look, we won't go into that.
No.
Yeah, I think he was the kind of the standout of the show from an Irish point of view. Someone that actually really impressed me from Ireland also, and he's kind of he's been around for a while. It's Craig Young actually. I found he was very, very impressive.
Yeah, I wonder, like, when he got back to Ireland, did he shake his pockets and take Jason Roy out, because he had Roy in his back pocket for the whole series, which was great. And like, I think the one person that's kind of probably going to be unfortunate in this whole thing is Barry McCarthy, who just can't seem to catch a break. I thought he actually bowled quite well in the first game, all things considered. But then backing it up, I thought Josh Little was really, really good as his replacement in the second. And I know we'll get into the games kind of, in more of a deep dive. But just as an overall, I thought Little's fight and kind of desire to like keep coming at you, like, it was something that we needed. And obviously with the left arm option, if he keeps fit, he's a really, really good bowler, and he's something that you can build a side around.
Yeah, he has that connection with Balbirnie there at Pembroke as well, which is a huge boost. He'll be able to know how to speak to him and kind of what drives him and how to get the best out of him, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's also something that we'll probably touch on is Balbirnie, and I think like he's had a really good series. Like, I know he was kind of lean with the bat for the first two, and he'd be disappointed in the second one when getting out to Vince kind of on the leave. Yeah. But he really kind of came in great in the third one. But I think, listen, we're kind of like dipping in and out, so maybe we just plow into these first games. So obviously, as you were saying, bit of a collapse in the first one.
A bit of a collapse, yeah. Just kind of looking at the facts and figures, it said 172 all out. England won the toss and decided to bowl. So obviously, they were kind of confident to, I suppose,
do a bit of damage early on.
Yeah, set out a marker, I suppose, and do a bit of damage. And it turned out to be the case. I think our old friend from a previous podcast, David Willey, came back to really show why people are talking about him and how he was so unlucky to not make the World Cup squad. Yeah,
I mean, like, Willie had come out and he said that he didn't know if he'd ever play for England again. So I think it's one of those things when you get the call again, you're kind of sort of saying, I'm giving this everything. And I think, from an opposite point of view, like, James Vince had a quiet enough series, and just seeing there the England T20 squad is out now. No Vince, so I wonder is that it for him? But no, Willie came in hot, bowled with really, really good lines. Really, gave us a lot of trouble. But then we didn't really know how to take him on. I felt we kind of let him bowl at us, and if you let these really good standard international players bowl at you, and continue to come at you, then you're asking for trouble. Like,
I think, that's a very good point. We didn't really know how to handle him. I think we've seen something similar in the T20 World Cup qualifiers with that left arm, that just seemed to bamboozle some of our top order. And it was kind of very worrying for a time there to see that trend continue. But I think he really did have a point to prove. It's his first fifer in ODIs.
Yeah. But that's the thing. He doesn't really. You find with Willie that he'll bowl hard at the top, and then you mightn't see him much then for the rest of the innings. Yeah. But obviously he was in good nick. He was in heat, so like they brought him back for a second spell, and he finished off the job. But 172 on the board. Curtis obviously helping us get to a score, and then am I right in saying Andy McBride comes in, little tweaker in the first or second over, gets Bairstow. Young gets Roy, tells him where his pocket is. And we're kind of in it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. It's not going to be there. Because as I said, the commentary team were kind of talking about this England batting line. Like, when we all know what they are capable of, they've blown everyone away, basically. The world champions have blown everyone away. And, it was really, really, it was encouraging to see, us putting up a serious fight, and making those early breakthroughs.
Definitely, and I think I was speaking to a friend of mine, an English friend of mine, and I was saying the first two games they probably will lose, but there will be moments where they will fight and they will scrap and they will take every inch, and they will probably come up short. But I think that they'll put their best performance in the third game, and that's what happened. But definitely, like, that first game, like, Curtis fighting back, starting well with the ball. And like if it wasn't for Billings' innings, like
yes.
who knows what would have happened. Like Billings is after having a really, really good series. I know he was quiet in the third one, but it's a different set of circumstances chasing to posting, obviously. But I think England were full value for their win in the first one. Obviously, from an Irish point of view, we would have liked to bat it better. But I think what we had, we held as best we could.
I think you slightly touched on as well, like the huge blow of losing Barry McCarthy after only five balls into his first over. That's to come back and to make inroads. It's very, very impressive. And I think the two lads got together, Billings and of course Owen Morgan, and to no better man to finish the job off than Morgan himself. But Billings, I've always rated Billings for quite a while. I think he's been very unfortunate through injuries and whatnot. Very highly rated player around the IPL and in T20s. But really,
like you don't get these gigs if you're not worthwhile. So absolutely. He really sort of said like I deserve to be here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if, as you say, compare him to James Vince, it's night and day, really.
But like maybe Vince has a future as a bowler in the team. You just don't know.
Honestly, that was a very left field call. But I think as you said, the England very much deserved their victory and quite comfortable in the end.
6-wicket win, came up short, but something to work towards, I think.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps up the first ODI, and then we move to the second. You're kind of you were. How were you feeling? Confident, or you were kind of saying you expected the first two games to?
I did expect them to lose the first two. But I thought that they would get stronger. So obviously, this time we're 212 for 9. Camphor again is the guy to kind of get us a score. But there was just more signs that they were kind of, coming out of their shell a little bit more. And then again, same thing again, coming hard with the ball, fighting for everything as best they could. And as I said earlier, I thought that the inclusion of Josh Little in the set coming in for McCarthy, I really thought he added something, because there's just something about a guy who just keeps coming back, like even if he's getting hit. And Bairstow was going DHL international, 82 off 41, and like he was going to keep going. There was no right or wrong about it. And Little had taken a bit from him, and then he gave it back, and he obviously got fined his 15%, but like that's a short price to pay really for taking Johnny's wicket. But again, coming up short by 4 wickets, unfortunately this time. But again, more encouraging signs once again.
Yeah, I think it was very impressive. Ireland rather, winning the toss, and Bernie making a progressive call and aggressive even more so with choosing to bat first. And I think it really sent out right, we're here, we're serious with this. We back ourselves to put a score on the board and see what you have. But I think as you said, Josh Little coming in, he gave Johnny a little bit of a send off, a little bit of a wink, I think, and got in trouble for it. But there's no harm in seeing that a young 20-year-old guy. I think he set him up very nicely. Kind of coming in a slower ball, and just Johnny was in DHL mode at that point, and was just
But I think it's one of like a number of encouraging performances by young players, like Tector, in Tucker behind the stumps, Little as well. Like Gareth Delaney obviously didn't quite go right from with the bat, but I thought like a couple of handy overs he had with the ball. Like if he can build and develop that, it's another option that we have that Balbirnie can go to. Because the thing is, like, Sterling didn't bowl in this series, and you would usually see Sterling kind of tweak a little off spin here now and again. So I wonder, is that going to be Delaney's trait moving forward?
I think so. Yeah, like he had a little bit of a day out. Well, very briefly at the start of the first game, he 22 off 16, and he hit 5 boundaries, but didn't go so well the second day. But I think you raised Harry Tector's name, which he hit 28 off 25 balls. I think Rob Key was actually in commentary. He was speaking about him. He said the better players look like they have more time, and he said that Harry Tector looked like a guy that was like just kind of born to be in that middle order. Looked the part. Just looked like he had more time than other players, which is great to hear that from a guy that probably hasn't seen much of him, and he seems quite impressed with him. But it shows the talent is there. The talent is definitely coming through.
the talent is there, and I think again it's a point that we're probably going to bring up more. But for me, anyway, I think that the low media profile of cricket in Ireland is to this team's benefit because there's not so many eyes on it, like say the England team. If a guy is doing poorly, the media are on his back. That's not really happening or going to happen with this team. And like you've seen with the Sky team, they were talking about like, that they should bring back Porterfield or they should bring back Rankin. Yeah. And clearly there's obviously a policy of like, no, this is going to be our team. This is going to be the nucleus of our team moving forward. Whereas, if this was England, them young lads would be gone and we'd be going back to the James Vinces of the world and whatnot, and would be, be draining them dry. So I think that's really kind of encouraging for these guys, that they know that they're going to get a sustained run in the team, and it can only benefit the team and Irish cricket moving forward.
Absolutely, but so as you do, we talked about the lead players and the lead roles. We should kind of dive in a little more into the stats and figures of what actually happened. So Ireland is 212 for 9 from their 50 overs that managed to bat through. Our friend again, Curtis Camphor, with his second 50, 68 off, 87 balls. Doing that fight once again. Harry Tector with a 28.
Simi got a few handy runs as well down below.
He did. He kind of helped pump it up. So he made up for a little bit. But Adil Rashid was very, very impressive, I found.
He was, but this goes to my point I was saying about the first one, is that if you let these class international bowlers settle, that they are just going to they have it on a string and you are not going to touch them at all. And I think that's what happened, was that there was a lot of respect shown and not really so much guile in terms of like how we're going to get the single, how we're going to rotate. Because you hear that a lot on comms. KP was saying that like, if you're struggling to hit boundaries, we'll just keep the strike rotating. Let's just keep the scoreboard going. And that wasn't happening. So then that just allowed Rashid to get 3 and 4 and 5 balls at a guy. And then once he had him figured out in terms of his technique, he knew what delivery to bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a fair point. Like he's a wily veteran at this point now. He's 30 years of age. He's been around for the best part of
he's old, 32, 33, I'd say at this stage, is he?
Yeah, no, I thought he was only 30. I think they were talking about.
He looks young. He feels like he's been around for age, though. Well, that's the thing.
About the test recall, but I think that's a very fair point. I think we've seen that in the third game, how they took the fight more to him. We'll touch on that later. But so we we put on a 212 reasonable score. Kind of gave ourselves something to bowl at, I guess, and. And Johnny Bairstow came out all guns blazing and just absolutely set the Irish attack to send it to all parts, I suppose. But Josh Little came back, and
Adam. Obviously, Young decided to put Jason Roy back in his pocket again after a couple of balls. So that was again, and this is the thing: good start, kind of getting the what we have, we will hold kind of mentality that I kind of would use when I was playing cricket. No matter kind of what you have, we'll figure out a way of defending this somehow. To varying degrees of success, shall we say?
Exactly. Your candidacy for potential Irish captaincy in the future? Are you kind of
listen? If they need a guy, I know a few people, but it ain't going to be me. But no, I think Bairstow was untouchable, and he just kind of said, "Listen, I'm not dealing with this." Yeah, swatted it to all parts, and then obviously Banton came in, got a little quick 15, but then it was Billings again. Billings was the one that saw it home. They were kind of wobbling a little bit. It was like 130 for 6 or something. And then himself and Willie kind of saw it out.
We kind of had that signature England middle order collapse. Moeen Ali, who's kind of struggled for the best part of 18 months now at this point.
But he's back and he wants to play Test cricket. So
Yeah, well, that's neither. That's a podcast for another day, I feel.
Another show.
Yeah, we had a little mini wobble with the likes of Vince and Banton and Ali kind of getting out very quickly. And a thing I actually found unusual, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, was Owen Morgan. He was set to come in at 4 in the first 2 games and dropped himself down, obviously feeling he was in decent nick himself, and probably wanted to see what his guys had, and
But and I think that's what you need to do. I think, listen, let's be honest. They're coming into this, they're expecting to win 3-0. So.
Sure.
That mentality is there straight away. So, okay, what do we want to get out of the series? What Ireland are looking to get out of the series and what England are looking to get out of it are two different things. The guys like Ed Smith and James Taylor, they're looking to see if these guys are fit to play higher again. They're, Ireland are ranked where they are for a reason. But if Banton does well, then he gets a gig against Pakistan, and then let's see what you do there, and so on and so forth. So, Morgan knows what he can do. He knows what Ryan Bairstow can do. It's these other guys that, you're given your opportunity, and can you take it is essentially what they're saying to the guys.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think at a certain point, then Morgan had seen enough and right, okay, I'm going to come in here now and just finish off the gig. And again,
it didn't work out though in the second game. Josh got him.
Yeah, well, he'd done the damages. Well, he'd gotten them home at that point, but himself and Sam Billings again once again very, very impressive, and really, really, I think cementing his place in that middle order moving forward for the future.
Who, Billings?
Billings, yeah, absolutely.
You think?
I think so.
Where?
Yeah.
Just roughly, where?
I think more so with a T20 World Cup coming up. And Joe Root, not exactly nailed on. David Milan is older. So I think there definitely is a space for potentially putting Banton up to 3 and having Billings in that middle order. I definitely think there's a space there for him. He's a Joss Butler light, basically. And potentially if Butler takes the captaincy on and maybe drops the gloves, you have a perfect replacement there, I think.
So you have Johnny. Johnny will keep.
Johnny always wants the gloves, yeah. But let's not you're following, or hopefully we can do some. So it ended up being quite comfortable. England got home 2-16 for 6. 2-0.
Yeah, comfortable in the end. The last good partnership with the two boys saw them home.
Yeah,
but again, a lot of positives still coming out. Obviously not results, but definitely positive performances and things that they can pick at.
Unfortunately, this is the one, I suppose, slight dampener with the thing is this is a World Cup qualifying campaign in a way, and points do count.
Points matter, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, definitely. But it's an interesting one, obviously, because even England have to qualify for next one.
That's it, yeah.
So, if the world champions reigning can't just get a gig in,
This idea of the third game being a dead rubber is absolutely nonsense. There's huge points and importance on every game now, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it does help because the last thing you want to do is be 3-0 up in a 5-match series and then have the other two kind of whimper out. Where that's not going to happen, and that certainly did not happen in this third.
So I suppose that's the second game covered away, and we're all very, very keen to get our teeth stuck into this third and final game in the biosecure bubble. We have to keep mentioning that everything is above board. But Ireland once again won the toss, second time that happened during the series, and this time decided to have a bowl.
Yeah, and I think that this is an interesting decision because, they're probably not a chasing team. I don't think. I think they are. I think they are more of a squeeze team. That's just my own opinion. Obviously, when you go and you chase a big score, it's very easy to say, well, look, they can do it. Of course, they can do it. They're quality players. But I think it was probably. I think Balbirnie might have been he probably felt good in terms of how they had been with the ball in the field, squeezing this chase. So he probably felt. If we could kind of replicate that at the start, then maybe we'll give ourselves something that we can chase.
I think that's very fair. Yeah, I suppose the idea of batting first. It's difficult to know what do we set, how hard do we go from the start. What is a good score? Okay, right, I'm gonna go from there. I think the idea of bowling first. When you're in a chase, then you know what exactly you need, when you need it, how what tempo to set. I suppose it gives it gives them sort of a obviously a target, but like takes the pressure off, I suppose, for
It's interesting. It works both ways, obviously, because obviously you're setting what you can get, but also you dictate what you get by what you do with the ball.
True.
So it works both ways.
Yeah, and I think as you raised rightly, was our bowling and our fielding for many years has been one of our strongest points and something we've been well known. And just kind of, I suppose, with the mention of that, we've seen the first appearance of Mark Adair come in for Simi Singh.
Yeah, and listen, Mark was very unlucky, I would have thought, now to kind of not be in the team from the off. But obviously, that's good that we can say that sentence.
Yes.
That first game didn't have Josh Little. It didn't have Mark Adair. It goes to show that there is that strength slowly coming back into Irish cricket from like bowling point of view, and like that kind of group of bowlers that we have known are very exciting. So no, it was good to see Mark get a gig. Obviously came in hot, as I would say, took out Bairstow's stumps, which was great because obviously Johnny's coming in off his 82, feeling good, feeling hot, and right, take care, bye. Who's next? But obviously, then it just became kind of like the Morgan and Banton show for a long while, and we could have been chasing 400. Let's be honest.
I think a huge amount of credit has to go to Andrew Balbirnie for constantly attacking, setting attacking fields. Really saying, okay, let's keep going for the jugular here. A Morgan-esque approach. You feel, let's keep going. Let's see what you have. Let's look you dead in the eye and see who blinks first. And I think that's a huge statement from a team that are very, very inexperienced in a lot of ways, but exciting and finding their way.
Yeah, and well led, I think, is probably the best way. Like, your team should be a kind of a vision of you as a person. Mm-hmm. So, like, Balbirnie's very kind of like, you move.
Yeah.
So, like, even when like ball is going everywhere, he's there thinking, okay, how are we going to get them out next ball? How are we going to get through these guys? And like, as we say, this could have been chasing 400, but as it was, to get Morgan, to get Banton, and kind of get it down to like that 328 figure was a pretty good day's work all in all, I thought, with the ball. But who kind of impressed you with the ball mainly?
With the ball in this game, again, our friend Curtis Camphor, 2 for 68 off his 10. I'm really, really impressed by this guy. There was a lot of online about South African aspect and whatever else, and that's pretty much gone now. No one's questioning.
Sure, his relations in Strokestown. I keep telling you this.
Yeah, but he definitely really stood out with that persona of I'm here, I want to prove myself, I'm not afraid to really have a go, a good, honest, hard effort. And there's a lot to be said for that as well, of just not lying down in the eye of what is quite honestly a very, very devastating opening top 4 when you consider. I know Banton is with Vince Bat's 3, but Banton and Roy, Morgan, Bairstow, those 4 guys.
They're no mugs.
And to be fair to Vince, when he is on form, there is no player that is nicer to watch. It's just his strength seems to be his weakness, unfortunately.
It is, unfortunately, definitely. And I think, listen, Craig Young really came into his own in this whole series as the leader of this attack. And he was complimented really, really well by everyone around him, by Camphor, by Little, by Adair, by McBrien,
Yeah, I think McBrien actually really is another one that really flew under the radar. But, as a whole package cricketer, like, he's dynamite in the field. He's very, very handy down the order, and he's very tidy with the ball. He won't go for huge runs. He can set a field to him, builds pressure, and gets good players out, which is always nice to see.
Yeah, he knows what he's about, I think, is probably the best way of looking at him. But so at half time, it's 328 on the board. You're probably not back in Ireland. Let's be honest.
We've heard that scoreline before, though, haven't we?
Yeah, but listen, we've heard bigger ones as well, and that hasn't happened, and smaller ones. So I think, but I think all credit comes. I think Delaney, while he didn't score that many, I think he came out with a lot of heart. A couple of low scores, obviously, in in the previous 2 games, when him and Sterling put on 50 odd, I think. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Really set that platform. And then, listen, our 2 best players, everyone knows it, is Sterling and Balbo, and the 2 guys were just fantastic. They didn't let the England bowlers settle. They didn't let Rashid settle. They went after Willie. And I think, the biggest thing I felt was the fact that Morgan wasn't on the field. I think if Morgan was on the field, I think he would have figured something out. But because he wasn't, and it was Ali kind of as the deputy. Now, that's not taking anything away from what Sterling and Balbo did, but I do think that is a factor as well. But again, this comes back to what your thing of Morgan dropping himself down. Yeah. Maybe he was fit enough to come back on. He said, actually, you know something? Let's just see. Let's see
who's going to stand up here. Let's see what I have. We all know.
When the going is great, everyone is great. But what happens when the going is tough and when I'm not around there? What's next? Let's see what's next.
Like you look at the strongest England 11. Most of the guys are in the test side, so he knows what he has. He knows those 4 or 5 guys are going to come back in. Let's see what's just under there, and let's see. Okay, who can I rely on when the chips are down? Who's going to stand up? And unfortunately, I suppose for him, it was the 2 guys in green that really stood up to that pressure. I thought Tom Curran really showed some flaws, I suppose, under pressure. Normally at the death in T20, I suppose it's 4 overs. He has a little bit more of a fallback, but here he really kind of I don't say let his team down, but he struggled, I felt.
But he wasn't the only one, is the only thing. They struggled because of how the 2 guys played.
Yes.
Sterling made a concerted effort to go after Rashid. How many times did he get down on one knee and sweep him? There was that fantastic shot when I think he got into the 90s, and he just gone for 6. And you're just like, okay, this is a different day. And obviously, unfortunately, that's still a little thing in the back of your head, this is going to fall apart somewhere, and it nearly did. But I think so obviously we lose Sterling in that kind of run out, unfortunately, and then you can see in Balbirnie, I found anyway, that he was taking on ball that he probably didn't want to just start taking on just yet, and then he got out. But the thing that I found great to see was Sterling's out, Balbirnie's out. Rashid is the bowler and Tector's on strike, and he just glides Rashid's the next ball after Balbo's gotten out. He just glides it for 4 and he's off. And I thought that was the making of the Harry Tector innings. And then obviously KOB, listen, man is a legend for so many reasons. But to just play in the manner that which he did, and then obviously Willie kind of shit the bed a little bit. With a few kind of slippy no balls and that, which was to our effect, but we'll take them.
Kind of comes back to where you say at the end, at the tail end of his overs, he just really isn't as effective, and probably showed why he didn't make a World Cup squad in the end. And the decision to bring in Jofra Archer was ultimately the right one. But I think a huge point that needs to be touched on is the backing of young 20-year-old Harry Tector. They could. Guys in comms are saying, I even was shouting at the screen, send Kevin in, but they didn't. They backed our young up and comer, and I think that's massive for him now. I think he really pushes on from this. He kind of struggled at the beginning, trying a few unorthodox shots and
stuff like that,
reverse and whatever else, but and he nailed that beautiful drive to cover, and he was away from.
Just got him going, and then I'm not saying it was inevitable, but there was definitely more of a calmness there.
It was really. I think it's really a make or break for him at this point, and obviously to have Kevin the other end, the right man, the right place, has been there, done it, has every T-shirt possible. But just unbelievable scenes, and.
It's a moment that you just wish was in front of a packed crowd. But obviously with everything going on, it couldn't be. But I think, listen, it's a win that, while it's a loss in the series, is so valuable for so many reasons. And I think it is just a shame that obviously the guys won't have another game now until next year potentially.
Massive
But to get those 3 in, and to learn what they've learned of that group is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and those 10 points are like gold dust for Ireland. Like England would have been just thinking, 3-0 easily.
Who wasn't thinking that?
Everyone was thinking that. But yeah, an absolutely hugely valuable 10 points there in the bag, and a huge moment for Andrew as well as a captain and as a player more so even. To really show I can do this in the clutch at the highest level against the world champions. I think he deserves huge credit, and the backroom staff, everyone, Cricket Ireland, everyone, all the way up, deserve to get this series on and to live in a bubble and self-isolate and all that stuff that comes along with it. It's not easily done.
No, and credit to the ECB as well for making sure everything was sorted in such a safe environment.
Yeah.
But listen, I think it was a really, really good series. I think obviously if you had to do percentages, you're probably going to say maybe like, I would say probably a fair would be like 65-35, kind of 61-39 in favour of England. Kind of within reach, but not quite there.
Yeah, I think it's a very competitive series, and I think Ireland took a lot from it, but I also believe that England learned quite a bit more than they would have assumed.
Definitely. I think maybe let's get into our kind of reviews of the teams and how they are kind of shaped out. I think from an England point of view, Roy and Bairstow had a quiet series. Obviously, Bairstow had his 82 off 41, but of the 6 innings, they were very, very quiet. I think Vince's international career is seriously now. I think he's on ice now. And listen, you have your caps, you have your moments, keep them. I think, listen, Morgan is Morgan. Banton showed in that last one he hit a 50. That kind of keeps him kind of within the group, I'd say, for another while. Billings very tidy. I think Willie was tidy with the ball. I think Rashid was good. I thought Syed Mahmood was decent enough. I know obviously he kind of got a bit of a puck in the last one, but again, which one of the bowlers didn't? But I think he had something. Tom Curran was good in the second game, not so much in the third one. Wasn't really required in the first. Oh no, he didn't play the first one. Sorry, or did he play the first one?
He did the first one, didn't get a second, and then came back for the third.
That was it. Sorry.
Second, yeah.
Yeah, Reece Topley, they gave that a go. Nice action. Good to see him back in the England shirt. Gives another option to Morgan. But it's a series of options, and Morgan will come out with his little black book, and he'll know who performed and who didn't.
So you've kind of touched on pretty much the whole squad there. So right, okay, your England player of the series.
I think it's hard not to go with Willie, even though he had a poor third game. I do. I think, listen, at the end of the day, what happened to him at that 11th hour, having been part of that whole English ODI kind of renaissance, if you will, to then the 11th hour being told, actually, he's better.
Yes.
That rips a guy out. It rips a guy in half. It can't not. And he can say in the media, I was there shouting the lads on and I was doing this, that, and the other. He was sick. He would be sick. So to come back and perform as he did, and to really just show, listen here, guys, I'm still really a good option for you guys, and here's why. I think Willie's my England player of the series.
That's fair. It's hard to argue with that. For me, it was Sam Billings. I think, it was something similar to David Willey. Very unfortunate to not make the World Cup squad. He had a horrendous shoulder injury last year for Kent. Absolutely just could have derailed him. A guy keeps wicket and bats and is a gun fielder, so he relies on his agility and his arm and, his hand-eye coordination for his whole career. I thought he showed a serious maturity to his batting and how he timed his innings and, to be right there in the difficult situations to sorry, I'm being interrupted here.
All right.
But he just showed a serious maturity and even just his technique was just so impressive. It was lovely to look at. As much as it was hateful to be losing, you can
appreciate it.
Yeah, you don't mind a guy like that, comes across very well, and obviously he's worked very, very hard. But yeah, for me anyway, I think he's done his future the world of good.
Okay, fair enough. No, it's good that we have like a different kind of viewpoint on it as well.
Yeah. So that's our kind of England player of the series. Let's kind of get into the Irish squad. So, what kind of direction were you looking at for your Irish player of the series?
So I think, like, obviously, there's different kind of ways of looking at it. I think Craig Young really came to his own as the leader of the attack, and I think he is probably pushing as the player of the series from an Irish point of view. I think, listen, Camphor is obviously, another guy to say the two guys getting the tons. I think McBrien was decent.
Yeah.
And then I think, it's kind of hard to maybe pick like in a Dare or a Little. I think Little was very impressive though. But I am going to go with Balbirnie because I think that, what I said before about how like a team should be the vision of how their captain are, after how their captain kind of, is. And I think, like he came out, he knew what brand of cricket he wants to play. He knows who he's going to back. He knows why he's going to back them, and he's going to go to war with these guys. And they're going to keep going at them, no matter. There could be 600. There could be 600 for 4, and they'll still go for wickets. And I think that kind of like attitude is what Irish cricket needs. It needs that strong leader to really kind of drive this standard forward and be like, this is what Irish cricket is, and you're standing here behind me, and we are going to take on the world. And I think his captaincy was excellent. I think his use of bowling was excellent. And then obviously he was well set in that second ODI, and then obviously just a little kind of pulling away back neck off fence. You don't know what could have happened there. He could have hit another 50 that day. You just don't know. But how he played and how he was happy to be second fiddle to Sterling in that third game was just fantastic. But to still kind of go at a rate of 100, even with all the carnage from the other end, is still just fantastic. So for me, it's Balbirnie, and those are the reasons why.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Like, you pointed out that he was very comfortable playing second fiddle to Sterling, but he's obviously been picked up by Glamorgan for the T20 Blast. So, he can, when needs to be, we've seen with the sweep shots and how impressive he was there. He can score at a very quick rate. And yeah, look, I think everything I can only echo everything you said about him. His captaincy, him as a man, and obviously his batting prowess as well. But I think one guy that I suppose he gets the headlines quite often is Paul Sterling. Not quite man of the series because he had 2 very quiet games, the first 2 games, but that aggressive nature and those shots, those sixes, oh my God, they were just out of this world. If that was Johnny Bairstow or Ben Stokes, Sky Sports News would just be absolutely in meltdown. It would just, I think it was very unfortunate for Barry McCarthy. He was very impressive during the T20 World Cup qualifiers. You touched on Craig Young there, yeah, really, really impressive. Craig Young. Andy McBrien as well, very, very impressive. Very just, knew exactly what he wanted, knew what his game was about. Has that old head on young enough shoulders.
Yeah.
But I can't look past Curtis Camphor. For just to think a guy 20 years of age to come in having never played a game on the soil of Ireland, never once played any sort of form of cricket for Ireland. A bit of slack online. Let's be honest, a little bit of slack online. But to come in, what was it, 20 something for 5, and to grind it out and get across the line, and then produce it with the ball. And even in the field, he was noticeable that he was right there in the action in the inner ring. Wanted the ball to come to him. Wanted that fight, that competitive nature.
Yeah,
definitely. Again, time around. Wasn't required to bat in the third, but still bowled very well in that third game. I just can't look past him. And for me, anyway, Curtis Camphor was Ireland's player of the series.
That's fair enough. So I think that pretty much wraps up our belated review of the ODI series between England and Ireland. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in to listen to us talk yarns about cricket. As always, your support is very much appreciated. If you haven't already, please like this video. Please subscribe to the Open Fair Network as we continue to build out this channel. I am at Kilduff Media on Twitter and Instagram, and Mr. Kyle Gavin is at Kyle Gavin 23. And I think, Kyle, I'll let you see us out.
Yeah, thanks very much. So yeah, thanks once again, guys, for joining us tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed our review of the very, very interesting and high quality ODI series. It's great to be back. And yeah, let us know. Get in contact with our socials, and if you've anything you want us to talk about, or any questions or topics you want us to cover, please get in touch. But yeah, with that, I will bid you good night. Keith, yourself, good night.
Good night, everybody. Take care.